thing that strikes me about the stuff that they're saying, and I don't know if it struck you as well, is that if you look at some of the things they're talking about, it's either going to make you successful or not successful going as a freshman, or make you, whenever you leave the school proud that you're there, whatever it may be. A lot of it is about individual accountability. And I stress that with at least the teams I coach, and I'm sure all of the coaches that coach you guys do the same. It's about, they're talking about fitness standards. Fitness standards, yes, your coaches can put you through things, but how hard do you want to work on your own? What sort of accountability do you have to be as fit as possible? Is it a lifestyle, or just an every now and then thing? Grades, again, your teachers can only do so much. How much work are you willing to put on your own? So the things in which you choose an individual to do a lot or to do little are going to make the biggest differences whenever you decide, when you're making decisions, and if you're going to find success at this next level. So again, the higher your accountability standards, the better off. So hopefully, your coaches, you guys are reiterating this, is like, set the bar way up here. If you're going to be fit, be the absolute best you can be. If you're going to be a good student, be the absolute best student you can be. And then when you get to this next level, you're going to be a lot happier. Okay. Just one question I have before we open up to everybody else is, generally the kids that come in and they have a tough time, what sorts of things are the most, what things come up the most when a kid comes in and has a hard time? Obviously, we talk about fitness, we talk about stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be when they first come in, it can be in the middle of the season. What do these kids struggle with year one the most that you guys find? And how these guys, how can we educate them so they don't have those same struggles?
I'm homesickness as far as our and we're down in Boca Raton, which is 45 miles north of Miami, so we're way down there. Most of our kids are Florida. That was our biggest struggle. So the only advice I have is call your mom and dad. We had a Canadian kid last year who, and it's great that she loved being the teammates, but she decided not to go home for spring break. Not because she had a bad family life. She just was having so much fun with her team, and they did some other stuff. But she struggled with that. I don't know. I'm very close to my family. So, if you get a chance to go home, go home. You get a chance, mom and dad, to come down and see you, spend some time with you, go to dinner with you. Everybody else?
I'll say flexibility. I think it was touched on earlier. When you come in, it may not be the exact thing that you wanted. You found the school that you wanted. It was the right cost. It's in the right town, and you have to be put up against a couple obstacles. Maybe there's a kid that is coming in the same recruiting class as you, and they took a position that you thought was going to be yours, or you're not getting as much playing time as you thought you were going to be getting. Be flexible, and then be more accountable and dig in. Because I think what we're all waiting for is that buy-in. And once we start to see that accountability, and we start to see players really go for it and take risks and play to their ability, that's what we're looking for. And sometimes you have to be flexible to get there. Because if you're hoping for that one thing, and that one thing isn't there, sometimes that can be really discouraging for players. And then they say, well, I thought it was supposed to be this way. Well, no, not really. You're supposed to come in here, you're in a pool of players, just like you're in now, and you fight for spots to play. And there's a limited number of spots. Go for it. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you provide an environment where you can be better players, better people. But you've got to be the ones putting yourselves out there every day. Get that buy-in, be flexible. Even let's say that you're a central midfielder and you start out as an outside midfielder for the first 3 or 4 games of the year, and then they say, well, the central midfielder isn't working out, we're going to try you at central midfielder. Or you're not getting as much playing time, fight for that playing time. Be flexible, get the buy-in, and then maybe a couple weeks down the line, now you're getting 30 minutes ahead. Maybe you're playing the whole half a game. That's what we're looking for. If you're inflexible, kind of deflecting everything rather than absorbing it, there's a lot to take in. Just go for it, okay? And be flexible while you do it.
And I think the players that we've had to struggle hasn't been about soccer, and it really hasn't been about school. It's been about people's ability to connect with other people. And it's your freshman year is a tough time. And you hear it all the time. Your college friends will be your best friends for the rest of your life. And I know that's hard to hear right now, because I look out here and I see a lot of people that are close friends, and you're like, no, these people, they'll be my friends forever. And some of them will. But the people that you go to college with will be your lifelong friends. But you have to be able to connect. And for some people, that becomes really natural. You can throw one person into an environment where they don't know anybody, and by the time they leave the room, they'll know everybody. But for a lot of people, that's outside their comfort zone. So learning how to connect is a critical piece to succeeding in college, both as a student athlete and as a student. And that connection, the ones that struggle to make connections. And so we spend a lot of time trying to get them connected with people. It may not even be soccer teammates. It may be with a club on campus. But once they have a connection, they feel like they have a little bit more of kind of a self-worth in a place on campus. And then life seems to get a little bit easier. So that piece of it's important. The other thing to realize is your team, most of the relationships in your club team and even your high school team are forged over 10, sometimes 15 years. You come into preseason and we're trying to forge relationships and forge a team in sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. And so we ask a lot of you off of the soccer field to kind of put down walls and say, I want to be part of this. I want to get to know you. And it's hard. But people that struggle, a lot of times it comes down to connection. It doesn't mean they're bad people, it just means they have a harder time connecting with new people right away.
Adding a little bit to what Ron said, I know we talked a lot about separating the player and the person. We're a very competitive environment, so we come in, we're talking as a coaching staff, and we're getting after you, challenging you, and that's ultimately our job. Our job is to make you a better player than when you came in. And so to do that, we're going to push you in areas that you've never been before, very uncomfortable situations. So we're talking about that, when we're going after it, we're talking about the player and separating that. And a coach, men and women, and I think sometimes a female athlete has a little bit more difficult separating the player and the person. And I don't know if you guys understand what I mean, but that's sometimes, as a coach says something, it's criticism towards the player, not the person. I would say as people, we care about you and we want you to be successful. But as a player at the time, when we're challenging you, it's all about the player. And that's, for a lot of freshmen, that's something that we talk a lot about with our team, because they have difficulty doing that, separating those two. When we step on the field at our level, you're going to go after your teammates in practice. The practice environment is going to be every kid's every environment. And that's also sometimes a change, because you guys are very close as a club, your teammates. And a lot of times you see that you blur those lines, the player and the team oftentimes. Well, a lot of times for us in our training environments and group environments, they have a job to do, and you have a job to do, and so that execute that job. And so we do talk about separating that. That's the player. That's nothing to do with the person. And so, kind of, I think being able to do that really helps you come in as a freshman and recognize certain things you need to do to be successful as a freshman.
It's interesting. It's a great question because not only the military academies, we have Navy, Army, Coast Guard, Marine, Long Island. So there's a lot of those service academy environments. That's a full ride. It's 100% everything else expenses paid for. So, and you're actually paid for it. So it's kind of a nice deal. You have a commitment afterwards that you serve in the military. It's usually it's somewhere between 5 years. It's normally a commitment, and longer than that if depending on what you're going into flight training and flight training tack on some additional commitment. It sounds like a long time when you're 18 years old, you're making that decision. You're thinking 4 years of college, 5 years of commitment, that's 9 years, that's half of the time I've been alive. That seems too long. But as your parents can tell you, 5 years after graduation is 27. You're very young and you've got a great opportunity with that education. So the military academies, if anybody is interested in that, you play very good soccer, and it's like going to another college. It's your team, same kind of thing. My best friends are, in fact, my wife is one of my teammates' sisters, so I got a special connection with my teammates. But there's opportunities. Even I was just talking to, we were looking at, somebody was saying, I don't know if I could afford Nebraska Wesleyan. And so I threw out a couple different options, different scenarios. And you need to look at those things. University of Nebraska Lincoln has ROTC, and you can get an ROTC scholarship whether you're at UNL or you can Nebraska Wesleyan honors that as well, pays for all your tuition and anybody has any questions or specific questions about, the mission that the different services do is so diverse and exciting. There's computer programming, just all kinds of things, just like we find. Didn't expect that question. Did I answer your question?
If your daughter's interested in your school, what is the best way to contact you via email, phone call, letter, whatever? What time of year is the best time to contact you? And what kind of information are you looking for in that way of contact?
Email's the best. Any time of the year is fine. Realize that we're busiest in our championship season from August through October. It doesn't mean that recruiting stops during that time. The advice that I would give to the parents in the room is be a part of your child's recruiting process, but don't run your child's recruiting process. Because as coaches, we're interested in getting to know your daughter. When we communicate with parents, we want to communicate with a parent. We don't want to communicate with a parent writing an email for their child. So be honest, say, if you want to email me as a parent, that's fine. Say, this is so-and-so's mom or dad. She's interested in your school. But at some point, we want, like Marcus talked about, we want independence and accountability from your daughter to say, I am really interested. I'm committed to devoting some time to get to know you and your program and to give you some information about me. Okay? There's a separation there. And what seems to be happening more and more is sometimes we don't get to talk to the player, to the daughter until they actually come on a visit. Okay? So email's great for a first contact. Realize the role, being a parent or a player, and ultimately, once there's interest established from both sides, okay, the player has to start to initiate some sort of contact with where the time frame is, meaning we can't email or call you for your junior year of high school, but then there has to be some incentive on your part to get to know us and want us to get to know you from that standpoint. After that email stuff, phone calls are fine. Realize we can't initiate phone calls really until most of our recruiting process is done. Okay? So don't feel bad about calling us either in the office or on our cell phones. I know my office phone almost is non-existent. It goes straight to my cell phone, so I don't know if you call my office or cell phone anyhow. I don't know if that answers all of your questions.
Some of the information that you put on it are grades, class rank, ACT score. If you haven't taken it yet and you're projected to take it, address, mailing address, all the basics, return email address. We don't need how well you did when you're 3 years old playing soccer the first year, how many games you've won throughout your career, that type of stuff. Make sure that you have some coaches' information on there so we have a point of contact there. Because a lot of situations, especially here, we cannot contact the player. So we will need to get information there. Some of the things that we like to look for, do any sort of extracurricular activities. I know that some people do some community service. We always like to do that. That's a big part of our athletic program here. Getting them out, our student athletes out in front of the community doing different things, preparing them for life after school. We want to see that that's part of their life now, and we can enrich that as well. Schedule, where you're going to be playing next, and your number, a proper one, please. Okay, we get a lot of emails, receive a lot of emails where, hi, I'm such and such, I'm playing this weekend. We have no profile information on you because we don't know who you are. We know your name. We don't know what you look like because we didn't send a picture. We don't know your number. So